Hi folks! Today is the 13th of April 2026. Tomorrow, the 14th of April, my second book should be coming out. My first book, which came out last year, I think in January, was a translation of Fallopia from 1584. And to my knowledge, that's the first full translation of that book. This, my second book, is a translation of Ghisliero from 1587. And there's reasons why I chose this to be the second book that I translated, but I won't bore you with details right now. This is a pre-sale copy that I got so that I could make final edits. This is not the first one that's being published. To my knowledge, it's the second one that's being published because one just came out a couple of months ago. But I expect that there's quite a bit of differences between the two translations, and I can't wait to actually really discuss those in detail. The most obvious difference, the first one that's probably going to strike you, is in fact how we translated the title, because I translated it as Rules of Many Chivalric Exercises, as told by Captain Federico Ghisliero, as opposed to Rules of Many Knightly Exercises. I translated the word to chivalric rather than knightly because of historical context. As with my last book, there are footnotes in the translation. So there's the Italian transcription on one side, the English on the other. I tried to make them the English pretty, like the Italian. And one of the very first footnotes is about the word chivalric. And what I wrote was, I use cavalier as the translation of cavaliero because at this time, meaning when the book was published, a cavaliero was a person trained in weapons who participates in formal martial exercises and combats. Some texts translate this word as knight, but that implies formal titles and possibly fealty relationships, which are not necessarily associated with a cavaliero. And to me, this is important because it speaks to the audience that Ghisliero was writing this for. Almost anyone could rise to become a cavalier. Now, I'm not necessarily talking about, if you were the son of peasants, but, if your father was a cobbler or, any merchant in even sort of the lower middle class strata, you could conceivably learn the ways of the sword and the pike and the stucco and the horse, all of which are discussed in the book, and become a cavalier. Another way that this book differs from my first translation is there are relatively fewer footnotes in this version because what I did was I saved my explanation for a pretty hefty section at the end. It's about half the length of the book again, which I call further interpretation. I also bucked up and drew a lot of pictures, while in my Fallopia translation, there were pictures that were drawn by a dear friend of mine. In this one, I personally redrew a lot of the pictures. And one other thing that I'm super interested in seeing how my translation differs is that I don't actually agree that the images in the original are necessarily super correct to what Ghisliero had intended. Even for the 4 guards, I redrew these. I mean, I'm not a super great artist, but I did my best, and hopefully it shows you my meaning, and the meaning is also explained. But in the 4 guards, there are differences, I think, in what he really was trying to tell us and what was drawn in the extant copies that we have. Anyways, that's just a quick highlight of this book. I'm super excited that it is finally coming out. I have been working on this since before the Fallopia book was was published. I'm planning on maybe making some videos walking people through this book so that I can sort of walk people who have bought the book through the lessons. I suppose, hopefully, the way I teach, it'll make sense even if you don't buy the book, which is fine by me. Also, one more thing, it will be available on Amazon, but if you see me at an SCA event or some other HEMA type of event, I will probably have copies with me, and they are less expensive if you buy them from me, because that's the, hey, I met you, you're a nice person discount. All right, Talk to you soon. Have fun stabbing each other with blunts so that we can play together again. Bye.